Vija, do you have a dream situation for people to appreciate your art? Like
No.
No, not at all. So you don't care if there's noise, you don't care if it's in a studio?
I don't think about the audience at all.
Once it's gone?
And I don't care how they react. You make a work, and it speaks to you. You try to give it some form that comes from, usually a pretty deep intuition about things. Some people just have no intuition about art at all, or no interest in it. I would say about 90% of the people would be in that area. But they like to go anyway, because they like to think, well, maybe I'll get something, Yeah. Or, true. You have to go somewhere. And, I try to place the object so that because I'm the first viewer, I try to please myself. And if I please myself, I'm pleasing some part of me that may even be inaccessible to me, but because of the making of the object, it has become sort of accessible. How's that? That's pretty obscure.
It's all right. You're about to say something, Mark?
Yeah, I think it would be great to look at some of the the things we do online, maybe, and see what would correlate to a museum experience. Like if I watch a YouTube video and I love what I see, I like to leave a comment. So maybe there's a notebook underneath where there's a work of art. There's a way to take ownership in a way, like be part of the conversation or see what other people felt.
Absolutely.
That can open.
Vija's shaking her head.
No, she doesn't like that.
She doesn't like that, huh? Why?
But I don't like the fact that somehow information which is in another form, which is in the words, I mean, that's the most interesting thing. Yeah, so you're talking, you're doing this and this, but the work is like going, eek! I mean, what is the work doing? The work has something it says, but, well, I mean, not now and not in sound pieces, but most of the time the work is mute. It's another language. I don't know whether even more information helps you with the work. It helps you somehow around it, as if you have no way of connecting to it. The art really has no message. The art sits. It has a message, but it has to be. Why am I getting so combative about it?
That's good. That's so good. Wendy agrees
but the
with
words, it's like the words and the explanation are the art and make the art, but that's not true.
That's a good point.
They don't make the art, and in fact, they make false art often, or they make you feel good that you have understood something that you don't even see. That's why I said, look at the piece. It's like an experience. You have a lousy experience. At least it's an experience. You have an experience where you learn something without somebody telling you hints of how to, it's like your experience. That's what I like about the art.
Question over there, dark suit, yeah.
If the difference became invisible, would that be better or worse? Because you said at one point the difference actually is important. It's not just the similarity, it's also the difference. But if the difference fell below our threshold of perceptibility, would you feel vindicated, or would you feel that you had, in a sense, lost the aesthetic experience you were looking for?
It's almost like the work is a kind of criticism on realistic painting, because the realism in the art is in a different area. It's not really in mimicking something. These works are sort of about, this was made, and of course it's invented. The whole thing about art is that it isn't really a reproduction, it's an invention. I like that part. You see, I like that part that an individual confronts a work, and of course there's a whole history about it, and when I first saw Cézanne, I thought, why is it so chalky, and so forth, all these criticisms. But over time, I began to see something that when you begin to have the experience with the work, it becomes something for you, you know, that is a real experience. You know, all of the ways of looking at the work is what gives it a certain depth, and we might say meaning, although there's not one meaning, you know, unless you're a commercial artist and they say, please make a cover that does this and this and this, and you do it, you know. But that's not how an artist really works, you know. You work from your whole experience and your whole body and your whole understanding. Like I try to put in there everything I know in various ways. Boy, anyway,
Yeah.
you know, that's
making
what
you
I meant
talk.
about looking at the work and not having some explanation as if there was an explanation.
Not having it pre-interpreted.
If there was an explanation, you probably wouldn't even have an art museum or something. You know, these things are not, you know, they grow on you maybe, or they don't grow on you, you know, I don't know.
I have time for two more, maybe.
What
One,
a preacher.
The red shirt over here. Max, the red
Sorry.
red shirt lady.
Hi, I was just wondering, it seems like a lot of the connotation about distraction is negative. If I'm sitting at my desk and the fire alarm goes off, that's obviously going to distract me, and for a good reason. And if we go back to, I guess, more of the simplicity of our natural, you know, fight or flight, that whole, you need the distraction. And I was just wondering, in your professional and educated experience, why is there, if there is it at all relevant? Do we need, is there room for distraction? Can
Actually,
it be controlled?
we didn't think at all that it was all completely negative.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want to give that. In some cases, distraction is important because it's a means to an end to make you focus on something else, right? As you were.
Absolutely, and I think in a museum it's like if you go to a Japanese garden, they have very little space, and you have to walk, and you walk over a little bridge, and you have to look down, and then you look up, and you see the tree, and so you're like distracted from the tree, so the tree has more impact when you arrive at it. Then you go around the corner, and you have to navigate. And so like controlling the gaze and distracting. I think there are a lot of things museums should play with.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the institution as it is kind
have
of
a little bridge.
It's kind of it's quite old, and you know, and a lot of the things, we put them out, and they are there the way they are, and you know, people get them or they get them not. I would say they probably get them not, because our lives have changed. So we have to,
Help.
help, facilitate, give options to
That,
people.
the sense of possibility
Well,
is
the
really what
sense
you
of-
want to
yeah.
really
I guess.
cultivate. And then
You're not against that, or you're against
No,
that?
no.
Oh.
I think that's probably true.
You hear people with children saying that their children's experience is so much more mediated now than it used to be, and much less physical. There's less emphasis on craft and dexterity, and more emphasis on manipulating symbols. I'm wondering if you think that's true, and if so, if you think it's a bad thing.
I don't think that. I mean, when I look at the kinds of things like in my focus group in my living room, I see like incredible dexterity. When I look at what my son can do on Little Big Planet, it's unbelievable. The detail. I mean, one day I was like, there was this kind of, it looked like a Leonardo kind of flying insect thing that he can lasso people up, and they do amazingly crafted things. And the other interesting thing is that they share skill sets as well. So they, you know, I said, well, where'd you get that? And he said, oh, someone made it and gave it to me. And it's like, and I've modified it, and I've done this to it. So I think there's still those same, he used to draw a lot and make a lot of things when he was younger. But I think it's just transformed in a different way. I mean, he's, you know, he makes amazing things. He made something, my son and husband have what's called the man cave, where all their stuff goes, and it's kind of like wall-to-wall, you know, cabinet of curiosities. And he actually kind of recreated a room for his dad that looked just like that with guns. Not that we have any, but
He's not going to
That made it better.
So that's okay. No, but also, and it's not only, not that it's necessary to go into the physical realm, because I believe the digital realm is more than enough, but there's the whole maker movement, people making things with their hands,
Absolutely.
and thinkering, and
Pickles.
so absolutely, I do not believe that we're losing.
One thing that I got hooked on several years ago, I was working with NASA, and I was working at the Perkins School for the Blind. We were working on, someone commented at fire alarms as a distraction, trying to come up with a fire alarm that wouldn't panic blind kids. But when I started talking to the science teachers, they said, our curriculum is so narrow because everything in science is presented visually. And so I talked NASA into buying me a 3D printer. And so now we can take pictures of outer space, transform it to 3D objects, and make the physical. So now you have all these kids who have experience with 3D video games, who have incredible dexterity in that world, who are taking that 3D modeling and suddenly making physical objects. No, they're not taking the clay and doing it. I have absolutely no skills sculpting or anything like that, but I love 3D printers because I can take something from code and turn it into reality the way a gene makes a protein, and that's just the way I do it.
And that's what design is doing today. And on this note, I always have to bring it back to design somehow. I want to really thank you because it's been a great, great evening.
Thank you.
So thank you.